What the heck, I'll do another one of these. So I live streamed me reading the prologue and giving thoughts on random parts. I don't think I'm going to live stream the rest. I think I'm just going to record videos of them. So, without further ado, let's start with Chapter 1. The future belongs to the young. Under a cornflower blue sky filled with billowing white clouds, an enormous herd of cattle gather across an expanse of tall brown-green grass. Their noses point to the center of the herd, focus intently. Their homes, dozens of dusty covered wagons surrounded the group. Mumbles of concern and curiosity mixed long down-out moves. Their attention is filled on a simple, newly constructed stage, the wood still pale and clean. A massive brown bull stands atop of it before his herd. His horns are impressively long and sprouting horizontally from his head, their black tips curved forward just at the ends. He wears a heavy wooden yoke to signify his station. He is the head bull, Texas. Hear that, Kanata? Beside him is a strong blue-eyed cow, her short, coarse coat patched with white and tan. His wife, Minnesota. Gather round, friends. They've got news from outside our beloved home, the prairie. He calls out to the throng of bovines? We've all heard the tall tale of old, the story of the horned prophet, the little lady who locked away our old enemies long ago, keeping us safe to roam the country, looking for sweet grass and golden sunsets, just at Mother Fonum intended for her calves. Welp, I tell you now the tale, it was true, and the story, well, a new chapter is starting. Well, they're getting the accent in here. I'm not going to be able to have voices for some of these characters because I don't know what they sound like. Obviously, when the game comes out, I will. But for the characters I do know the voice, I'll try my best. I am a terrible voice actor. But anyways. Texas' eyes narrow with gravity. The predators, they're fixing to come back. The crowd shifts, voices raised with concern. Minnesota tries to calm them. The last thing they need is a stampede. Now don't get your tails in a knot, folks. There's something we can do about it, don't you know? Oh, so she's Canadian. Yep, Texas continues. The varmints ain't here yet. The varmints ain't here yet. And with the prophet's key, the lock can be mended. We can still lock him up in the hold. But it will take someone with strong moral fiber, someone rough, tough, and bullheaded to boot. So naturally that means one of us, cattle kind. Texas looks out to his people, some with faces twisted with concern, others with determination, others still with anger. Are there any volunteers? The cattle rush the stage, mooing with purpose. That's right, Minnesota calls out and motions to an old rain barrel at the end of the stage. Just put your name in the barrel. We'll be picking lottery style, don't you know? Is that going to be the thing here? The don't you know? One by one, each bovine presses their nose in a dish full of mud and slams it onto a piece of torn cloth, stamping it with their unique individual prints. They fill the barrel to overflowing with their names. Because that's... okay. Spread the word to our brethren across the prairie, Texas informs them. Yeah, we'll be drawing the nose print for the champion tomorrow morning, Minnesota finishes. For the rest of the day, bulls and cows from across the nation migrate to the main wagon train to throw their nose prints into the barrel. But it's not until late night that the final name is added. The entire herd sleeps as under the dim light of a half moon. Jesus Christ. I should not have been drinking all that soda. A small calf suddenly approaches the empty stage. As if doing something forbidden, the young one looks around carefully, makes the print, and adds it to the barrel before quickly dashing away. The next day, just after the sun rises, the herd reconvenes, eager to find out who among them will be chosen to save the land. "Friends," Texas announces, "get ready to meet your champion." Minnesota shoves her whole head into the barrel and emerges with the fateful name. Texas inspects it closely, then gasps in horror. "No, it can't be." Minnesota, unable to speak with the print in her mouth, questions her husband's darting concerned eyes. "Our youngest daughter," he cries out. "Arizona!" The crowd gasps. Minnesota gasps. The nose print falls from her lips to the ground before the hooves of the young calf. She bravely stands before the herd, determined to claim her title. She is small, her horns only just budding, but she is sturdy and sure. "Young lady," Texas scolds, his voice a combination of fear and indignation. "What were you thinking? I won't allow it." "Sorry, Pa," Arizona yells back, unintimidated, "but it is my right. I am a cattle kind too, and I love the prairie just as much as anyone else." Anybody else? I should not be trying to do voices in a blind reading, but I'm going to anyway. Minnesota steps in to reason with her husband. "It's the law of the prairie, don't you know? Her name was drawn. It really is her right." Texas and Arizona face off nose to nose, overprotective father against the rebellious daughter. "She is too young," he proclaims. "The future belongs to the young. Let a young one protect it," she defies. "Then it is my right as head bull to take your place." "Not unless I defeat you first, Pa." "Very well, calf, but remember, you mess with the bull." Texas paws the ground and lowers his enormous horns. Minnesota rolls her eyes as he booms, "You get the horns." "Oh boy," Minnesota says to herself, shaking her head. "Here we go." Without a moment's hesitation, Arizona rushes her dad. He is prepared, though. He lowers his head and throws her high into the air. She flips nose over tail through the air and lands square on her feet. The force of her landing rocks the bull off balance. "Don't go easy on me, old-timer." Texas is surprised, not just by her sass, but by her strength. He narrows his eyes, resolved to give her his all. He rears up and brings his massive hooves down on her, but she is fast. She rolls and weaves between the furious stomps, unencumbered by the defeating booms of his hooves on the ground. Finally, he pins her by the tail. "Ha! Don't mess with Texas." Minnesota face hoofs. Unbelievable. The calf kicks him in the face. Stunned, he stammers back, releasing her tail. They position themselves for a final face-off, staring each other down. Texas lets out a mighty bellow and catapults himself towards his daughter. The entire herd is shaken by the thundering of his hooves. Arizona waits a moment, then coils. She lowers her head, raises her hoof, then pounds the dirt, rocketing herself towards the raging bull like a battering ram. The impact throws him into the air, but before he lands, Arizona banks off the side of the stage, twists her hind legs, and before her lands a mighty buck square to his chest. Because apparently, Arizona is something else for her young age. The herd watches, mouths agape, as their powerful leader is launched into the air, springing uncontrollably before falling with a catapult's booming thud. And when the dust clears, the Bavines see their champion. Arizona stands on her fallen father, a vision of youthful independence and strength. "No use crying over spilled milk," she cries triumphantly. Minnesota winces. "Oh, geez, come on." The cattle cheer. "Moo! Yeehaw! Wee doggy!" I'm not even going to try to understand that. Minnesota looks on, filled with pride. "Well done, little calf," she says softly to herself. "Yeah, you betcha." Texas gets up and watches as Arizona is swarmed by the crowd cheering for their champion. "Moo, our champion!" they hoot and holler. "This calls for a hoedown. Get along, little cowgirl. Moo!" With a smug, knowing expression, Minnesota settles up by Texas. He looks angry, humbled. With her great weight, she nudges him with her shoulder, knocking him off balance, if only slightly. He gives her a side eye before looking out at his little girl, carried high on the backs of her happy brethren. You can tell I'm tired. His face softens and a proud smile crosses his lips as Minnesota puts her head on his shoulder. With a hint of a tear in his mighty brown eye, he opens his mouth to speak. Minnesota braces herself for the worst. "The future belongs to the young," he says, quietly expressing his approval. Minnesota breathes a sigh of relief. That wasn't so bad. Alright. Well, you guys got to hear my terrible... I don't know if I was going for a southern or a western accent, or maybe a combination of the two. I have no idea. Anyways, that was chapter 1. And I guess chapter 2 obviously is next.